it feels like a life sentence. That's a fallacy. That's what we want to believe. It's the immediate story of this is going to be my life forever. And we forget that there's another story that we can introduce right next to that story, and that is this might not last forever. Welcome to the show, everyone. Let's talk about impermanence. This is such a big topic, and how we embrace impermanence and truly living authentically in a changing world. When we are able to embrace, I think, what is really a gift of impermanence in our life, we are a more present individual. And one of the main tools that I use all the time to help me be present so that I can embrace impermanence and change is through my embodiment practice. So you guys know I have the radical ritual method that I do every single day. I feel so off if I don't do it. It's quite amazing now. My body, it's just a non-negotiable, because when I'm not present, I am so fearful of money not being there. I slip into scarcity mode. Let me know if this happens to you. When you feel shrunk, when you feel conflicted, when you feel like you've sunken in on yourself, you're shrunk down. You feel so worried about money, about your relationship. You start to pick at your significant other. You start to worry about not being enough. Maybe your habits, your positive habits of drinking enough water and eating good food, they fall to the wayside. Exercise decrease. It's like there's so much that changes as a result of us not feeling expanded. It's in that higher energy state that is the expansion that allows us to witness our life. It is from that expanded energy state that we can take the witness consciousness. We can take a perch. We can take our seat and peer down into what's called the field of action and see our life, see the impermanence, and to see it as a gift. When we live authentically, essentially, we are really allowing ourselves to be in the moment. You can't be elsewhere in your mind and be authentic. You can't be thinking about every other thought in the world and then tell me that you're being authentic, because authenticity is really a present way of being. When we're authentic, we are truly in touch with what we're feeling, and what we're saying and doing is in alignment with that feeling we're having. We know when we're authentic, we know what our core values are. I talked about this a couple weeks ago in a podcast. We know what really matters to us. And we express that by saying yes and no to certain things that either are or are not in alignment. And we trust that it's safe to know what our core values are and to exercise them, to practice them, and to demonstrate them in life. This is also where we get to practice the skill and art of boundaries. But we only get there through being present, through being aware. One of the major pain points and causes of suffering is explained in the Kleshas, or the Kleshas is what they're sometimes pronounced as. Buddhism has kleshas, Hinduism has kleshas. And one of the 5 kleshas is avoidance. When we avoid looking at the impermanence of life, we mistakenly believe that things will be around much longer than they will. People are a great example of this. When we neglect to look at the impermanence of life and we become therefore attached to it being around, when someone or something leaves us, it injures us, it hurts us a lot more than it would have if we've been all along really in tune to the impermanence. Now, I'm not suggesting that you can avoid mourning and pain when someone you love dies. Of course not. Nor would I ever suggest, if there was a way to do it, would I ever suggest that you take that path. Mourning and pain is a beautiful teacher, as hard as it may be. When we remember that things are impermanent, when we have that great truth, we cherish moments. We show up differently. We remember this won't last forever. This person I love won't be alive forever. I won't be alive forever. I might not have this moment many more times with you to talk like this with your kids before they leave the house, with your son or daughter while they're home from college, with your mom or dad while they're still alive. As much as people can be a pain in the ass, right? There's still an awakening that happens when we embody and awaken to impermanence. There's a freedom in it, even because when I believe, when I choose to believe the fallacy that everyone and everything will last forever, there's almost a mini prison that we box ourselves in. Now, stay with me on this. What I mean is, if something's going to be lasting forever, and let's say it's not going well, there's an argument between you and a friend or with a coworker at work, we can react in a way that aligns with the belief that this is going to last forever. And then it gets kind of blown out of proportion, constantly beholding it in the forefront of our mind, and therefore it eats at our energy levels. And that makes us react a different way. And then maybe we're not sleeping well because of the stress. And now we're reacting differently because of the lack of sleep, and onward. It sort of cascades and snowballs into something much bigger than the actual issue. And that's what happens in arguments. And when we feel sore about something, we're actually not arguing about the thing we're really supposed to be arguing about. It's become something else. It's changed. It's snowballed. And we're so far away from the actual issue. A lot of times the issue is that we just don't want to really feel the impermanence of the moment. If we acknowledge the person you're arguing with will not be on this planet, that we don't know when they won't be on this planet, the knowledge that nothing lasts forever, we immediately find freedom. Because if nothing lasts forever, well, then this argument will end. This energy will end. This pain will end. It feels like a life sentence. That's the fallacy. That's what we want to believe. It's the immediate story of this is going to be my life forever. And we forget that there's another story that we can introduce right next to that story. And that is, this might not last forever. Maybe this is just a couple of months of this awkward season of a decrease in finances. Maybe this has been a year of uncomfortable finances. But everything ends. So if that ends, that means wealth, abundance. That means the cash flow will actually start to match your abundance mindset. If you're lonely and you haven't had a partner in a while, it might feel like being lonely is just what you're meant to be the rest of your life. I guess I must just meant to be single. And it feels again like a life sentence. But if we embrace the freedom and the gift, knowing that nothing lasts forever, and then to find the courage to embrace, to weather the storm, so to speak, we will eventually pop out the other side. There are endless possibilities that will always arise to meet you. Nothing lasts forever, including relationships. I've had more friendships fall apart this past couple of years than I can count than ever before in my life. And not that there weren't friendships that should have fallen apart in the past. It's just I'm learning to emphasize and express and hold boundaries. And so are other people on my path. So it's beautiful. We're all leveling up. But I know now, because I've had a lot of evidence that shows me, but also I believe in this. I practice this impermanence. I remind myself daily that this friendship I have now may not always be there. Or this relationship I have with my partner may not always be there. It may sound crazy to some of you that I think about Brandon, my partner, my beloved partner, that he won't be on this planet one day. And I sometimes think about who will die first. And when I think about him dying first, I get very, very sad. But there is a teacher inside of the sorrow. There is a blessing inside of my sadness. And if I stay there just long enough, my selfishness of being alone and being sad and being sorrowful and missing him, it gets removed. And then I'm ushered deeply and fiercely into the love I have for him. And I have no choice but to wake him up in the middle of sleeping and just hug him, which I've done. The sadness of impermanence, if we stay there long enough, that's the key. I hope you hear that. If we stay in the sorrow, our ego transmutes, it transforms into what is truly always there. And that is love. Love is the one omniscient energy. It's consciousness. Love is consciousness. Love is source. Love is God. When something or someone dies, it almost makes room for the baby that was just born. In that way, there's always some balance and some beauty to the world. I can come to grips with my death, knowing that I'll make space for someone who's new, who can start their journey. That is the journey, the sacred human journey. And you know that you're not a human having a soulful experience. You're a soul having a human experience. That's what you are. And so this is not the end. As Ram Dass said, we're all just walking each other home. This is all just one big experience of you leaving impermanence behind to find the soul, the permanent part of you. Love, consciousness, soul. That is the endless, unchanging, undying part of you. It just happens to be in this body right now, having this incredible experience right now. Recognize how beautiful it is that none of it will last. And so seize it. The gift and the greatness and the teacher of impermanence is to usher us into seizing the day. Carpe diem. Fully embrace the now. Come into contact with the divine then in every moment. That's what you'll find. When you see the impermanence of life, you see God. When you finally let the sorrowfulness of impermanence hit you, it cracks you open. You have no choice. And yeah, you might cry, and yeah, you might feel fear, but right next to the fear of death and dying and partnerships coming to end and businesses dissolving is the beauty of, oh my God, I got to experience the start, the preserving of it, and the end. I got to see the full completion of something that was so beautiful. And because that ends, I now get to free up my energy to turn now and to open up to the next thing. And that's what's beautiful, is that something dies, whether that's a career, whether that's a marriage, whether that's a person, that's a idea, a belief system you have. There's all these different layers of things that are impermanent and that will die in your life. So ultimately, it means one thing, and that's you are ready for the next. And what I've come to learn is that at every intersection of a change, if I just can allow myself to have the courage to say, okay, and to recognize that the true essence behind all of it is love, and that's impermanent, that is permanent. That is what's always there. That's what's always pervasively existing behind the scenes. It's the hum, it's the pulse of everything. That consciousness is love. And that is there, and that is never changing. That is omniscient. If I can see that in everyone and everything, that I know it's safe for things to enter my worlds and to leave. And if I live with integrity, embodied integrity, wholeness, and I am living by my truths, and I am living my authentic self, then I will always take right action, even if it means something ending. You can trust things ending. Do you see that? And then you can trust when things enter your life too. Some of you are so afraid of things entering your life. Am I worthy of it? Is it right for me? Am I good enough? It wouldn't have entered your life if it wasn't for you. It wouldn't have left your life if it was no longer for you. We're always being supported. And so there's a freedom now that blows in. There's a freedom that comes into your life when you embrace impermanence. Thank you so much for listening. I encourage you to sit with the feelings you have and journal on it, and to see where maybe you're resisting some change, and to get back into the flow of change is to have flow of love in your life again. Get back into the flow. Allow things to change. Trust the change. Get excited by the change. You'll only transform into the person you're meant to be as a result. Thank you for being here.